Good morning, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. We're pleased to be joined by a very special guest, the Director of the United States Census Bureau, Dr. Stephen Dillingham. Welcome, Doctor. We're thrilled you're in Arizona, and we're delighted to have you here. We're also joined by Debbie Johnson, who is chair of the Arizona Complete Count Committee, Robert Uribe, the former mayor of Douglas, and Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Prescott, Billy Orr. We also have Paula Nunez, Louise Cardenas, Camacho, Jonna Scott, Dr. Stephen Smith from the U.S. Census Bureau, Director of the Arizona Complete Count Committee, Alec Thompson, Director of the the Arizona Governor's Office of Tribal Relations, Christine Firethunder, and Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Equal Opportunity, Barry Wong. I want to start by recognizing some really good news that we heard this morning. Arizona's unemployment number dropped by nearly half last month, a really good sign that people are getting back to work. Once every 10 years, our nation embarks on a unique task, counting every man, woman, and child living in our country. The census is included in our Constitution. It is instrumental to the proper functioning of our Republican government and has been so for 230 plus years. And its completion is the civic responsibility of every household in the country. Over the last 7 months, the people you see up here today and many, many more around our state have worked diligently to raise awareness of the census and get every Arizonan counted. The Arizona Complete Count Committee has executed an extensive public outreach effort, including PSAs, text messages, radio campaigns, targeted digital and traditional advertising, and a robust community outreach strategy. The committee has also worked closely with state agencies to promote participation among Arizonans, and the committee has supported the Census Bureau in outreach efforts and operations across the state. They've been to towns, large and small, all 15 counties, and partnered with civic community leaders throughout the state of Arizona. They've done tremendous work in the face of unprecedented challenges, and my sincere thanks goes out to all of them. Now, with 13 days left to go, we have one clear message for all Arizonans. If you haven't yet completed your census, do so now. You matter, and you deserve to be counted. Filling out the 2020 census is quick, easy, and completely confidential. Here are the ways you can be counted. Online at my2020census.gov or by phone at 844-330-2020 or by returning your completed paper form by mail. As I mentioned, members of the Arizona Complete Count Committee, whom we have here today, have been working tirelessly to reach all Arizona communities, especially those that have been traditionally undercounted. Members of that committee will speak to some of those efforts here shortly. Just a few minutes ago, we had the opportunity to brief Director Dillingham and his team about Arizona's efforts and how we're going to make the most of and maximize the next 13 days. Director Dillingham and his team have been incredibly supportive of our state's needs. We're grateful for his partnership and that of the entire administration. So now, to say a few words, it's my honor to introduce the Director of the United States Census Bureau, Stephen Dillingham. Director.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to be here in Arizona today, and it's an honor to be meeting with the governor, with the Complete Count Committee, and with the critical partners at the local level, as well as the partners that I met today, some of them at the local high school that were involved in food distribution, as well as getting people to complete the census right there on the spot. And those are mobile questionnaire assistants that we had there that were making sure that people had completed the census today. But it's a real honor to be meeting with the governor today and all the people that are working so hard, and to discuss some of the good news that's going on nationally as well as here in the state of Arizona. So nationally, 93% of all households have completed the census. By the end of the week, we should be at 95% of all households across this country completing the census. And some have actually, in past days, have reached past the 99% mark, particularly Idaho, West Virginia, and Hawaii's knocking on the door. So we've got some good news. Now, Arizona did have the pandemic, which is certainly has a challenge for the entire nation, but was a particular challenge here in Arizona. And I understand that things are improving, but progress at the state level is certainly being made. Certainly by tomorrow, we will have 90% of all the households in Arizona completed. Now that leaves, as the governor said, 13 days to do a lot of work. And that work is, we see the finish line, we're motivated, progress is underway, and we think that Arizona is going to meet that finish line with great success. So we're here to help in any way we can, but we see the tremendous effort and success that is going on, and we want to thank you. We want to thank the media for giving the coverage to this. We want to thank the people of Arizona for answering the census and helping us get a complete count. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Director.
Excuse me, Governor. Sneak behind you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Debbie Johnson. I'm the director of the Arizona Office of Tourism, but for this purpose, I am the chair of the Arizona Complete Count Committee. I want to start by thanking the governor for making the 2020 census a priority here in Arizona and for all of the support that he's given to our Arizona Complete Count Committee. Director Dillingham, we are so grateful to have you here for your visit today as we are making the final push to make sure that every Arizonan is counted. We're confident in our efforts to finish strong. For the past year, the Arizona Complete Count Committee has worked to promote response to the 2020 census and support the efforts of the U.S. Census Bureau. We've implemented a strong campaign led by a diverse group of Arizonans from around the state. These people understand the importance of the census and what it means for Arizona for the next decade, including funding that matters to every Arizonan, health care, affordable housing, transportation, education, and more. The 2020 census matters, and every individual counted will help shape the future of our state. We focused in all 15 counties of our state through grassroots and media efforts. We partnered with cities, towns, and communities all across Arizona. We worked to distribute materials, and we worked to promote response, especially in those traditionally undercounted areas. We engaged state agencies to promote the response. A couple of examples I want to give you, we worked to communicate with all the registered foster parents in Arizona to make sure that their children counted. We messaged in every vehicle registration renewal, and we shared information on every agency website. Our campaign was fully bilingual in English and Spanish and included traditional and digital advertising efforts. So I want to talk for a second about our subcommittees because they worked really hard with a very targeted community-focused plan. One of my favorite efforts that we did was the distribution of 1,000 Arizona Census onesies to hospitals across the state to share with newborns. We wanted to remind everyone that babies do count. So we remain committed to our goal of completing a full and accurate count for Arizona. And while, as the director and the governor have both mentioned, COVID-19 certainly has posed challenge, we remain focused, including a new campaign that we're doing right now with text messaging to those undercounted communities. We've already surpassed our 2010 self-response rate, and we're on track to exceed the 2000 rate, but we need the help from every Arizonan. And I'm going to repeat what the governor said. It takes less than 10 minutes. We need you to remind your family, friends, colleagues, neighbors. My2020census.gov can give you all the information you need. This truly is a once-in-a-decade opportunity, and we want to work together to make sure that we get it done. And I am very honored now to welcome two of our subcommittee members from around the state who have worked with us during this past year. First up, from Douglas, Arizona, is Robert Uribe, followed by Prescott Mayor Pro Tem Billy Orr.
Muchas gracias, Debbie. Thank you. Mi nombre es Robert Uribe y es un honor servir como parte del Comité de Conteo Completo de Arizona como el representante de Relaciones Municipales. My name is Robert Uribe, and I am honored to serve on the Arizona Complete Count Committee as the Municipal Outreach Liaison. Gracias, Gobernador Doug Ducey, por hacer el Census 2020 una prioridad para el estado de Arizona. Thank you, Governor Doug Ducey, for your leadership and for making the 2020 census a priority in Arizona. Director Dillingham, agradecemos su visita a Arizona en los últimos días que restan para completar el conteo del Census 2020, mientras trabajamos juntos para promover la participación en todas las comunidades a través del estado. Bienvenido. Director Dillingham, we're excited to have you in the state for the final days of the 2020 census count as we work together to drive response in every community. La campaña del Census 2020 ha demostrado haber tenido éxito, uniendo a cada comunidad de Arizona para alcanzar una meta en común, un conteo completo en el Census 2020. The state's 2020 census campaign has demonstrated great success in bringing together every community and every background around our shared goal, a complete count in the 2020 census. El Census 2020 tendrá un impacto importante en cada comunidad, sin importar el tamaño, sin importar si es rural o urbana, en su mayoría hispana, afroamericana o nativoamericana, además de cada punto de la diversa población que existe en el estado. The 2020 census will impact every community, small, large, rural, and urban, Hispanics, Black, American Indian, and every other part of our state's diverse population. Me siento muy orgulloso en haber formado parte del trabajo realizado por el Comité de Conteo Completo de Arizona para asegurar que cada residente sepa que contestar el censo es seguro, fácil y importante para los próximos 10 años del estado. I am proud to have been a part of the Arizona Complete Count Committee's work to ensure every Arizonan knows that responding to the census is safe, easy, and important for the next decade in our state. Como residente y exalcalde de la comunidad fronteriza de Douglas, Arizona, entiendo primera mano lo importante que es completar el census para obtener así recursos y una representación correcta. As a resident and former mayor of the small border community of Douglas, Arizona, I know firsthand the importance of a complete count in the census in relations to both funding and representation. La infraestructura que mantiene funcionado a la ciudad, las escuelas en donde educamos a futuras generaciones, el ciudadano de salud para los adultos mayores y la juventud son importantes servicios impactados por el conteo del census. The infrastructure that keeps our city running, the schools that are educating our next generation, healthcare for our elderly, residents, and youth, these important services and more are impacted by our census count. Estamos haciendo una llamada a cada arizonense para que responda al census hoy en línea ingresando a my2020cenus.gov, mi2020census.gov. Por teléfono, el número es 1-844-468-2020 o regresando su formulario por correo. We're calling on every Arizonan to respond to the census now online at my2020census.gov, by phone at 1-844-468-2020, or by returning your completed form. Completar el cuestionario toma 10 minutos, como dijo el gobernador Doug Ducey, y puede responder en español. Toda la información que usted comparte es confidencial y no se comparte con ninguna agencia federal, estatal o local, incluyendo agencia de la ley. Completing your questionnaire takes 10 minutes and you can respond completely in Spanish. All the information you provide is confidential and not shared with any other federal, state, or local agencies, including law enforcement. Tradicionalmente, las comunidades altamente latinas no han sido representadas correctamente en el census. Estamos trabajando arduamente para que eso no suceda este año. Por eso necesitamos la ayuda de la comunidad. Latino communities are traditionally underrepresented, as Ms. Debbie Johnson said, in the census. We're working together to change that this year, but we need your help as a community and as a state. Cuando responda, cuente con todos los que viven en su hogar, incluyendo recién nacidos y niños. When you respond, count every living person in your home, including newborns and children. Una vez que complete su formulario, uno por hogar, recuérdele a sus amigos y vecinos hacerlo. Dígale lo importante que esto es para las próximas décadas y el impacto que tiene en su comunidad. Y no olvide mencionar que responder es seguro. Once you respond for each your household, remind your friends and family to respond and let them know how important this is for the next decade in their community and that responding is also safe. Solo quedan 13 días para ser contado. Si no lo ha hecho, el momento es hoy. There's just 13 days left for the count, so respond now. El Census 2020 es importante para cada uno de nuestras comunidades. Unamos por Arizona para obtener un conteo completo. The 2020 census matters for every community. Let's come together for Arizona's complete count. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Billy Orr, and I'm proud to be the Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Prescott, and I'm honored to serve on the Arizona Complete Count Committee as the Rural Outreach Liaison. Thank you, Governor Ducey, for making the 2020 census a definite priority for Arizona. It is great to come together with our partners at the Census Bureau, led by Director Dillingham, welcome to Arizona, and many of our local leaders for Arizona Complete Count for the 2020 census for this final push for Arizonans to respond. I am proud to be a part of the Arizona Complete Count Committee and the work to ensure that every Arizonan knows that responding to the census is safe, it's easy, and very important. In rural Arizona, we know firsthand the importance of the census and the impact of missing even just one household it can have on our community. When we respond to the census, our communities are better positioned to build that new country road or bring healthcare options closer to home. We make sure that we receive our fair share of federal and state funds that support our schools and services that matter to Arizona families. Our Complete Count Committee supports our local workforce and helps guide the locations of new businesses and jobs. The 2020 census will impact every community, small and large, rural and urban, for the next decade. Above all, responding to the census is our civic responsibility, enshrined in our Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, to serve as a guiding tool for the next decade. Today, we celebrate Constitution Day, 233 years, the longest living Constitution in history. The Arizona Complete Count Committee has worked in every community to share the message that every Arizonan counts. And I'm proud to have supported efforts in rural communities, working with local leaders, all of our county officials, and others to promote the census. However, counting our rural households can be very difficult, especially in challenging times like these. Rural households are traditionally undercounted in the census, and the difference in the response rates between communities can be very significant. For example, in my hometown of Prescott, we have one of the top response rates of 72.3%. But in some of our neighboring communities, such as Dewey Humboldt, Chino Valley, Paulden, our self-response rates are as low as 30 to 40%. With even all of this friendly competition that we've had, it matters to all of us. The 2020 census will impact absolutely every community in Arizona. That's why it's so important for every household to respond now, online at my2020census.gov or by calling 844-330-2020. I will repeat that, 844-330-2020, or by returning your completed form. It takes about 10 minutes, and responding is simple, it's safe, and all of your information is protected by law. If you respond now, you will also skip a visit from a friendly census worker coming to your home. Respond now and remind your friends and family that to be counted in Arizona is critical to our state. With just 13 days left, it's so important that we come together as a state to make sure that absolutely every Arizonan in our state is counted. Thank you.
Don't forget your mask. Billy. Okay, well, with that, you want to grab that? Thank you. Got it. With that, I want to thank Director Dillingham, Director Johnson, Mayor Uribe, and Mayor Pro Tem Billy Orr, all of you for being here, and the Arizona Complete Count Committee for your hard work. Let's make sure that every Arizonan is counted in 2020. To everyone listening at home, if you haven't completed a 2020 census, don't delay. Fill it out today. You can do it by phone, by mail, or online at my2020census.gov. The opportunity only comes around once a decade, so let's make it count. And with that, let's take some questions. Patrick?
Item 15. Governor, the Navajo Nation expressed concerns about the sooner date of finishing the census on September 30th. Do you share those same concerns? And as somebody who the president listens to, what is your plan to serve the underserved people who are underserved in the community?
So we share the concern that we want to do the best possible job for the 2020 census. We're at 88.9% right now. You heard the director say by close of business today, we'll be at 90% or certainly at that number tomorrow. We realize there have been real challenges with the pandemic, and we all know the challenges that the Navajo Nation has had to overcome. So we have to play within the rules that the federal government sets. We're confident we can have success in doing that. That's why we're surging efforts. Today, 450 federal employees parachuted into Arizona over the last several days and are fanning out across the state to help us complete the effort.
So will Arizona be also counting all undocumented citizens?
We're going to count all people in Arizona.
Doesn't answer this question, which is,
We're going to count all people in Arizona.
the first question, are you going to ask the White House and the administration to extend?
This is a federal deadline. There aren't special exceptions for states.
Understood, but somehow things get changed. You seem to have the ear of the president, he and his minions have been here. Are you going to ask for an
When Arizona needs help, Arizona reaches out, and the administration has responded. Arizona is going to run through the tape over the next 13 days.
We'll go to Bob next from AD.
I have a question for Mr. Dillingham, a couple of them actually. What, if any, preparations are you making in case the federal judge requires you to extend the count from September through another month? As you know, that's in front of the judge right now.
Sure. There's both the legislative proposals as well as the litigation, and the Census Bureau will comply with any change in law that occurs either by the Congress or by the courts.
Are you preparing for that eventuality?
Right now, we're preparing to complete the count by the end of this month, and we're on track to do so. So we're pulling out all the stops. We see the finish line, and we have the momentum. So we're working with the states, particularly with the state of Arizona, to make sure we hit that goal.
Okay. Are you concerned that the fires in California and Oregon and Washington and the hurricane that has hit the Gulf Coast is going to impact or disrupt your count? And are you thinking of extending it in those areas?
Sure. We have special procedures and special resources. We're devoting those areas. We're looking very closely at the West Coast. We're looking at the Gulf Coast as well with the severe weather and the floods and the hurricanes and tropical depressions. And we're meeting those needs. We actually, of the people we're sending to Arizona, the 450 plus enumerators, most are from California. So we're doing the job. It is a challenge. We're trying to make sure we meet that challenge, and we're making tremendous progress. So we're very optimistic, but we're working very hard to meet those challenges.
We'll come over here to Taylor from KTAR. Taylor, go ahead.
Governor Ducey, this is for you. Today, the state health department, sorry, sidestepping to the census for just a second. The state health department added new antigen tests to the results case totals today. How are these new numbers going to impact the benchmarks in the coming weeks? And is it probable that we could see businesses and schools closed due to these extra tests and cases being added?
So the question is around COVID-19 and the pandemic and the antigen tests that were added to the total count today. These tests date back all the way back to May, I believe. So it's an anomaly in terms of this number. In terms of our overall COVID numbers, at least last I checked for yesterday, our R0 was below 1. Our PCR positivity was at 20% at its high. It is today at 4%. We've seen the percentage of inpatients with COVID-like illness drop for 10 consecutive weeks to the lowest number of any time during the pandemic, and we've got the largest capacity of ICU beds available since we started to keep that data. So, of course, we don't know what the future holds. We don't want to let our guard down. We want to remain vigilant, but we certainly like where Arizona is today with our economy opened across the state, with kids getting back into a classroom in front of a teacher, with our universities operating, and with our athletic directors and university presidents making final decisions on whether we're going to kick off on college football. This is all much better than where we were in July and August.
Right, with the benchmarks on a 2-week lag anyways on data, and we're going through retroactive data, do you see this being a possibility that by next Thursday we could go in reverse when it comes to the benchmarks for businesses?
Well, I think to manage expectations where we are right now, to be as low as we've been the entire time that we've been collecting data, that as there is more activity, you're going to see positivity rise. You're going to see some increased cases. But remember, the objective has always been to do this in a healthy and safe way. It's been that we can have enough hospital capacity and resources to care for those that need it, but that we can keep people safe and successfully protect lives and livelihoods. That's going to be the objective going forward, knowing it's unpredictable and knowing we don't know what the future holds. That's why we had the press conference last week and encouraged Arizonans to get their flu shots. Okay, because if they can get their flu shots, if they can avoid getting the flu, we don't know what COVID holds for us in the fall, but we know that we're going to have at least a traditional influenza season.
Here, but Nyala and then Howie.
I have a question about unemployment, Governor. We've received a number of complaints from people on the road to homelessness, including veterans, who say they still haven't received their unemployment money, and also they haven't even been able to get a DES employee on the phone. So how are you ensuring that they will get the money and also get in contact with DES?
So we want everyone that needs their benefits to be able to be served. I want to applaud the hardworking men and women at DES. They've served over 1.3 million Arizonans. It's kind of hard to get your head around that number. Our state's somewhere around 7.2 million in population, and we've had 1.3 million Arizonans that have received benefits from the Department of Economic Security, I think totaling over $10.3 billion. So I would encourage them to be persistent, to use the phone, to use the internet, but there's a tremendous amount of resources going out to help these individuals. And I mentioned the economic growth that the state has seen. It was a 44% decrease in the unemployment numbers, I think from 10.7 to like I said, that 44% reduction. I can't imagine a month in modern history where we've had more employment available.
So what happens when persistence doesn't work? The latest unemployment numbers that we got today says the unemployment call center is receiving only 7,000 calls per day last week. That's down from the number in mid-August, but it's still a high call volume. So is the need being met?
So you mentioned the call volume, and it is overwhelming. What's not only hitting the phone banks, but the computer servers. But you also mentioned that the call volume is down. That means resources are available. That's why I have confidence that if people persist, they'll have their needs met.
One for you and then one for the director. You're crowing about the 5.9% jobless rate. But I've actually looked at the data. There's two things you don't mention. Number one, 144,000 Arizonans disappeared from the workforce, which affects the number. And number two, of the 79,000 jobs created, the vast majority of those were in education of folks coming back. How can you claim this is a great victory when in fact most of it is due to the fact that people just sort of given up?
Last month, we were at 10.7% unemployment. Today, we're at 5.9%, the largest drop in unemployment in modern history, and the jobs are across the board. I think it's terrific that we have jobs in education and teachers getting back in front of the classroom. We've also got health services. This is all breaking news today. Trade, transportation and utilities, professional business services, leisure and hospitality, financial activities, and construction. The rebound is across the board.
But your own director of the Office of Economic Opportunity, Doug Walls, said this is the largest drop in participation in the workforce since 1976. It's nice to say the rate went down. The rate went down because a whole bunch of people dropped out. You're claiming this is
No, that's not accurate, Howie. That's not how the numbers work. The rate went down because employment increased in the state of Arizona, and from Amazon to Axon to, I just asked Director Dillingham in our previous meeting if he was hiring. There's jobs available all across the state. People that have been discouraged, and I certainly understand that discouraged throughout the pandemic and since March, but our economy is coming back and those jobs are available. There's help wanted signs all across the state. Well, I'll go ahead, Director Dillingham. Yeah, go ahead and ask the question, Howie.
The question is, you talked about how things were more difficult in Arizona. The fact is that other states have had much higher COVID-19 rates, much higher infection rates. How can you say that somehow it's our COVID-19, which our governor has crowed about how great we've done, that somehow resulted in a lower response rate?
Well, you'd have to go back historically and look, but I would just say that the pandemic has hit all states in different ways, and that it has had an influence with the speed with which there were self-responses in this state. But we're encouraging self-responses today. As the governor and the head of the Complete Count Committee pointed out, and the many partners, we're urging everyone in Arizona to continue to self-respond. And so the self-response rate will come up higher, but we're very impressed with the progress, with the overall response rate, and want to continue that progress until we reach the finish line. Thank you.
Hang on one second. Howie, if you're going to quote me accurately, I haven't crowed about how great we've done. I've given you the data and the facts on where we are in terms of the metrics, and they are better today than any time during the pandemic, including on the census rate. Arizona is ahead in 2020 with the pandemic, with the recession ahead of the rate that we were in 2010 and the rate that we were in the year 2000, with a much larger state population. We're on track, 89.9%, 13 days left to go, 450 new resources inside the state. We're going to press forward.
Let's go ahead. No, we gotta go to Dennis. We got a hard stop, so Dennis, please go ahead. This is the last question.
Real quick, I just wanted to follow up on Howie's question. I mean, he's saying that 144,000 people disappeared from the workforce. Do you think that's misleading not to include that in these unemployment numbers? The unemployment numbers may have dropped, but it's still not giving a full picture.
It's not unusual in an economy, especially when you have some of the challenges that we've had across the country, that people who are displaced get discouraged. They didn't disappear. They haven't yet re-engaged. They need to know that there are positions available for them. So like I mentioned, from Amazon to Axon to counties and cities across the state, there are jobs available. They can re-engage and join the workforce.
Governor, Mr. Dillingham, if I could follow up, kind of a two-for question here. So the report out today, it says Arizona, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina will each lose $500 million a year for the next decade if you don't improve the turnout right now, which is pretty dismal, and the bunch of the state is 30% up in the national nation. Are you happy with that? What are you going to do? I mean, that's $500 million that should be coming into this state every year if you just get 90%.
We have every intention of exceeding 90%, of capturing every dollar and counting every Arizona. And that's why Director Dillingham is here today. That's why we're having the press conference. That's why with 13 days left, we've been able to bring in hundreds of resources here to complete where we are, to be at, like I said, 89.9%, to be ahead of the pace we were in 2010 and the year 2000 with a much larger population. The challenges that we've had around the recession and the pandemic and the specific challenges that we've had in some of our tribal nations are all things we intend to address, and we intend to address it successfully. I want to thank everybody for, pardon me? I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to say, fill out your census form, go to my 2020 census and get it done. We've got 13 days left. Let's put our shoulder to the wheel and finish strong. And let's also remember the good habits that got us in a much better position of wearing a mask, socially distancing, washing our hands, and staying home when sick have got Arizona in a much better place today. Be safe out there and fill out your census form. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.